Hey, all right, there we go. So another boring day in NASCAR. Nothing to talk about as always. Do a little chat check here. Working on my side. Looks like y'all were y'all were going here before I got here. So let's see what's happening here. All right, there we go. It is working on the other side. So obviously, the biggest story is, of course, Denny Hamlin admitting that he did it on purpose. I don't necessarily have a problem with him sticking up for himself if he feels like Ross Chastain has wronged him. Of course, that's subjective and that's his opinion. You know, if you're a Ross Chastain fan, you probably feel a different way about it. But I have no problem with a driver if they feel like they've been wrong sticking up for themselves. But I do draw the line at admitting that you did it on purpose the season because now you invite NASCAR in. You almost challenge NASCAR to do something like, hey, I basically committed this violation. What are you going to do about it? So I do sort of don't understand why he said it was on purpose, other than like entertainment value for a show. Did he like weigh it out that, hey, I'm going to pay this $50,000 or $100,000 fine or whatever ends up being the fine or whatever, because I'm pretty sure he'll get a fine for this. So I just don't know. I don't know if he weighed the value out and sort of took that game, or if he just really felt like he just needed to get this off of his chest. I don't know, but hopefully he didn't put the show's value over the team's value, because if he gets hit with a point fine, that's going to be something there. So I don't know. I don't know. But I don't have a problem with him sticking up for himself. The execution, though, that's something. I wouldn't have done it that way, but whatever. It's his life. He can do what he wants to. All right. Let me know down in the chat what you think about it. We're going to jump into the chat right here. Also, I don't know if NASCAR has handed down the penalties or whatever for the Hendrick deal. I'm just getting in myself, but will be interesting to see what gets done in that Hendrick or Chevrolet, because I think they got a college car in there too. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that Hendrick situation. So we'll see here. See. Hey, BB, started without you, says Mark Barnum. Yay, no problem with that. Like, y'all jump into it. I like it. T-Van has been lifted 3 inches, 31 by 10.5, has never seen winter roads, repainted laser red, all chrome. I don't even know what we're talking about, but it sounds good so far. And the engine was totally rebuilt 5 years ago. Has about 10,000 miles on it. Hey, I like it. No rust on it because it hasn't seen the wet road, so I like that too. Let's see here, Bumblebee. I expect he'll get the William Byron penalty from last year, 25 points and 100 grand. I think you're onto something there, because it's not completely the same, but it's very similar, right? So I would expect the 100 grand. Like I expect that straight up. I feel like that's going to happen. The 25 points is what I want to see. Do they actually slap him with the 25 points? That's what I'm sort of looking for. If he gets a points hit here, that's going to be huge, because then he really has hurt his team significantly. So as much as I think his team probably wouldn't have a problem with him retaliating against Ross Chastain, his team probably does have a problem with him saying he did it on purpose and getting this point smack. So if it ends up being the exact same penalty as Willie B, that's going to be interesting. I can't believe he said he did it on purpose. Like we all pretty much knew he did it on purpose, and but until you can prove it, the only way you can prove it is when somebody removes all doubt by opening their mouth, right? So I guess he did it for the ratings on the show, but man, I couldn't believe he said he did it on purpose. I was like, that is not smart, because you're inviting NASCAR in there to do something. But we'll have to see what NASCAR does about it. They might let him off with a slap on the wrist. You never know. Or it could be the 25 points and 100 grand. But yeah. Let's see, Robert Stone. If you're going to do it, then not a year later. Plus, he's opening up the door for Ross to pay him back. Yeah, and that's a fair point. He should have done it in the playoffs last year if he was going to do it, but now he's opened up the door for Ross to do it to him in the playoffs if Ross doesn't want to let it go. I don't think Ross is going to continue it on. I don't think Ross even really cared about it last year, other than Denny Hamlin like bringing it up, or the media bringing it up, whichever way it worked. And certain situations it was one or the other. But Ross Chastain, you could see he didn't really want to talk about it, because Ross Chastain was focused on winning races and trying to get a championship. Something I think Denny Hamlin should do. Like, Denny Hamlin needs to let the petty stuff go, and he would be a much more dangerous championship threat if he could just ignore the petty stuff. What's up, Napa Racing fan? Mark Barnum, S10 BB 1991. S10s, I love those things. Every year of the S10, I did like the S10s. So I hated that they went away for the Colorados, but the Colorados are cool too. But the S10 was that was an era. That was the era. I love the S10. Tacona 2, agreeing with Robert Stone there. Napa Racing fan, what penalty will Hendrick get for the louvers? I fully expect they should get, if it's the same, it's modifying a part, right? If that's what NASCAR says it is, they should get the same penalty that Roush got. So I don't see any way around it. The only wiggle room there is petty GMS. They got that 40-point fine for whatever they modified because it wasn't a performance part, I guess, was what NASCAR deemed that one. That's the only real wiggle room. But either way, it's going to be a 40-point or 100-point fine, and they're probably looking at a $250,000 fine as well, points fine, and then the $250,000 for the money fine. Robert Marks, howdy from the Great White North. Since I'm a Ross fan now, I was watching his in-car when he got walled. It's funny, Dale Jr. and Mike talked about it. Mike said, now there's a truce. I think they egged him on, to be honest with you. I feel like they peer pressured him into doing something. I don't think Denny Hamlin necessarily would have done something if Mike Davis and Dale Earnhardt Jr. didn't call him out on their show. So I feel like he got peer pressured into it a little bit too. So I do feel like that played a factor into it. Not only those two, but peer pressure from his fans and other NASCAR fans. He already cost his team points, said Terry Garvin. Yeah, he cost his team points with not getting the maximum finish. Even though he had the 2 tires, he still could have got a better finish than what he got. So he cost his team there too as well. T-Van said, that's awesome, Mark. What state are you from? And Mark is from Iowa. So there you go. Mark from Iowa. One wise guy said, let's talk about Josh Berry in his top 10. So yeah, Josh Berry, he had a poor qualifying effort and he improved that car throughout the race. And he was running about top 15. And then at the very end of the race, the caution fell his way and he was able to make up another 5 spots. But Josh Berry was running top 15 all race. So that is, and you see other rookies, the 2 rookies this year have struggled, right? So for Josh Berry to go in there and have a good, nice, solid finish like that, that shows you how much ability he's got. Now, whether or not you agree with Dale Jr., he's a future champion in the sport. That remains to be seen. But you definitely see the talent there, able to get a top 10 in only his second start in this type of car. At least this type of car where it's a top level car. I think he's made some starts for like Spire and stuff like that, but it obviously was not a Hendrick car. So I guess I should correct that right there. Let's see. Open mouth, insert foot will be the new name of Denny's talk show, says Bumblebee. So yeah, he stepped in it. I don't know if he stepped in it on purpose to get ratings though. He's a little bit more crafty than some people give him credit for. So I think he did this to get ratings. I don't think he expected quite this amount of blowback, but I think he did do it on purpose. T-Van says, what do you made the comments on purpose? Want to do a parcel trade for a 02 Jeep Wrangler? So there you go, a Wrangler for a S10. No comment on who's going to be the loser on that deal. Let's see here. Michigan 43 videos with all the injuries. Drivers reckon someone at race speed deserves the max. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. NASCAR has made a big push for safety, so if they don't do anything here, that sort of flies in the face of them worrying about safety. Actions detrimental to Denny Hamlin this week, says Napa Racing fan. That's pretty true. Bumblebee says, my man's leading the points for the first time ever, and I'm thrilled. Let's go 48. So, yeah, everybody talked about Kyle Busch as the biggest offseason free agent, but how about Blake Harris? Blake Harris might be the biggest offseason free agent because they've now paired him with Alex Bowman, and Alex Bowman is leading the points, has not finished outside of the top 10 all year. So Blake Harris, he has to be right up there with off-season pickups for teams. T-Van 4.3 asking about the motor in the S10. Robert Stone, we call S10s S-Dime in my neck of the woods. I hadn't heard that one yet, so that's pretty cool. Tim Race, Gordon says they get their speed honest. They don't cheat. They go right up to the edge of the rules, right? Like that's what you say as a race car mechanic, race car builder, whatever you want to call it, as a team member. We don't cheat. We're just playing in the gray area. So until you get caught, you can claim gray area. Even when you do get caught, you still claim gray area. I didn't understand the rule. I didn't interpret the rule that way. It's all part of the game. And they all do it. Here's the deal. Hendrick does it. Roush does it. They all do it. Joe Gibbs Racing does it. Penske does it. Everybody does it. So I'm not picking on Hendrick or anybody else. They all push the limits. Like that's part of the sport. Let's see. Yep, 4.3 with a 5 speed there on that S10. T-Van says that would be fun to drive, Mark. So there you go. I guess Denny's podcast strategy is tune in to hear what dumb things I'll have to say today, says Sonny V. Yeah, I was telling somebody in the comments I might have to do a whole separate section of the show just for Denny Hamlin's podcast. What did Denny Hamlin say on actions detrimental today? And I do think that is part of his strategy. I don't think necessarily dumb, but I think he does want to say something at least newsworthy or controversial every episode because he wants his podcast. He's a competitive dude, right? Like at the end of the day, he's a competitive dude. Would be really cool if he just stayed competitive on the racetrack and didn't worry about other stuff. But he probably wants to get more views and looks than Dale Jr.'s podcast, right? He's probably trying to compete with them. He definitely wants to outpull door bumper clear. So don't think for 1 second he's not competing for ratings and stuff like that. 100% that's in his mind because he's just a competitive guy. Let's see. How will Hendrick penalty affect drivers specifically? Will all 4 drivers receive a significant penalty? Chase Elliott could have negative points if that's the case. Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think there was a situation last year where Brad Keselowski was close to like having 12 points. He wasn't negative points. But yeah, you would imagine all 4 of the drivers that got the parts confiscated would get the hit. And like I said, I heard also that Justin Haley's 31 car, they took that one too. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Bumblebee says, all I know about Denny Hamlin is Elton Sawyer, director of operations, said there will be consequences. So there is definitely, according to Elton Sawyer, who he would know, right? So he is in charge of that deal. So there's going to be some type of fallout from it. Like I said, I do expect it to be similar to the William Byron penalty, if not the exact same. So that's pretty much where I would look at. NASCAR has laid precedent, and they said they want to make even penalties across the board. So I think going forward, you just have to penalize everybody the same. That's what I was saying about the Hendrick deal, and that's what I'm saying about this deal. If you gave William, if it's the same penalty, first off, and you gave it to William Byron, you got to give the exact same penalty to Denny Hamlin. In all seriousness, Denny commented that Chevys have an aero/body advantage, says Tim Brace. Well, I mean, that's part of it. We saw this in 1992 with Ford. So Ford won the first 11, 12, or 13 races, something crazy like that. And eventually NASCAR conceded that, hey, the Ford has an aero advantage, and they gave the Pontiacs and the Chevrolets a little bump. I think they took some spoiler off and did some other crazy things to sort of even the playing field. So if it starts off in a similar fashion to that, I do expect NASCAR to make some concessions for the Toyotas and for the Ford teams. And I think that's totally fair because NASCAR's whole deal is they want a basically spec Miata for people to race, or not a spec Miata, a spec Miata. They want a spec car. Spec Miata is a fun thing, and I just looked at my Miata outside. Sorry. They want a spec car to race. So in that situation, you would even the playing field there, but that's a long ways down the road. I doubt Chevrolet is going to start off 12-0 like Ford did. Let's see here. So did the tire break or come off of the 10 car? It broke. They did hold him for 2 laps. So Aaron Flynn with that one. So from what I understand, somebody said the lug nut was loose, and NASCAR said the lug nut was loose, and that's what caused the wheel to break. So NASCAR is going with it was a loose lug nut, and he is going to be penalized as such. And I think he is going to lose 2 team members. I think you lose two team members for a loose lug nut as well. So he's looking at the same penalty unless they protest it and win the protest, if they can prove that the lug was on there tight and that the wheel just failed by itself. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But either Bozy Tatarovic or Bob Pockrass tweeted that. That's where I'm getting that info from. So I did see somebody with that would be in the know tweeted that out. I'm from Salty, Indiana. All the S10s rusted out years ago. Oh, that stinks. I hate that, man. Says T-Van. What up? A little late. Denny sucks. So Josh Strickland, not a Denny Hamlin fan. He shot himself in the foot by admitting he did it on purpose. He would have been fine if he had just not said that he did it on purpose, I think. The Keselowski penalty came after running it in the race. This was found after practice. A little wiggle room there. In my opinion, says Tacona 2. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you if this was back in the day, but I do remember when NASCAR came out with this package, they said there's going to be zero tolerance for parts modification. So that's the reason I'm grouping them in with the RFK penalty. They said it's going to be zero tolerance whether they find it before, during, or after. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I think that's what they said when they first came out with it. So that's the only reason I'm beating that in there. Look, as a Kyle Larson fan, I personally hope they get off with a slap on the wrist because Larson doesn't have a win yet. It's not going to affect William Byron. William Byron's got 2 wins. It's not going to super affect Alex Bowman because he is leading the points, so he has a little bit of wiggle room there. But I think without some wins, it's really going to affect them one way. If it's the 40 points that GMS got, or if it's the 100 points that RFK got, they're basically just going to need wins at that point, except for maybe Bowman if it's the 40-point penalty, because he'd still be in the mix even if he loses 40 points. Robert Mark says Smokey Unick said he didn't cheat. If they didn't have a rule, he did. Once they made the rule, he stopped doing it. They made the rules just for him and his innovations, the 20-foot gas line. Yeah, 100%. That's a big misconception about Smokey Unick. Smokey Unick never got caught cheating. Smokey Unick worked in gray areas, and NASCAR wrote rules after Smokey Unick did something. So that's one of those things people are like, oh, Smokey Unick cheated. Smokey Unick never got caught cheating. Let's see. Mark Barnum, throw the book at Hendrick and Hamlin. Yeah, I mean, if NASCAR wants to be consistent, that's what they have to do. The only teams I can remember getting off for any type of infraction so far was the RFK and Penske when they were widening out the how the wheel locks on to the mounting studs. So that was the only time that a part has been modified that anybody got off. But of course, obviously, there's no favoritism there because later on, RFK got hit with that 100-point penalty, and I don't think Penske's been in trouble for anything since. But that's the only situation where I remember somebody getting off. So there, if you're a super Hendrick wasn't cheating, there is a silver lining. RFK and Penske with widening out those wheel alignment holes, they did get off for that. But other than that, they should get the same penalty that it says in the rule book. I bet all 5 lose crew chiefs, says one wise guy. That could be a good bet there. Mark Barnum, lose the CC is a joke. They just CC online. I don't know. Losing. Oh, okay. Losing the what are we losing? Chief. My mind is not firing today. Sorry. Losing the crew chief from, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. They're just doing they're basically just Skyping in and calling it that way too. So I don't know. That is a fair point. Fox totally misplaced the crank it up segment right when Harvick was passing Larson. Yeah, and thank God for Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer gets a lot of flack, but Clint Boyer said, nope, I'm going to talk through this. I don't care that they're doing a crank it up. So kudos to Clint Boyer for stepping up. He's heard the criticism too, and that was his way of stepping up. So Clint Boyer busted through the crank it up. He's like, he even said, I don't care that we got to crank it up. We had a pass for the lead, boys. That was a heads up play by Clint Boyer there. Fox lost the ability to do a broadcast, says Mark Barnum. The camera work has been dodgy. I like Mike Joy. I don't have a problem with him. I don't have a problem with him clapping back at the keyboard warriors either, because we all know who he means. Like, people are taking it way too seriously that he's clapping back at all of Twitter. That's not what he was doing. He was clapping back at the people that specifically say stupid stuff. And it was a really very specific. I wish I could find the tweet, but there was really a very specific one where somebody said to Mike Joy, hey, you said there weren't going to be any more commercials. And Mike Joy told him on Twitter, I said there would be no more full screen commercials, that we only had one more side by side coming up. And that was the previous race before Phoenix. And that's what he was referring to in the Phoenix race when he said very slowly and in what he said monosyllable for the keyboard warriors. That's exactly what he was talking about. He was talking about a very specific tweet. He was not indicting all of Twitter. So the people that got in their feelings about that, it's kind of hilarious. Like they're joking on Mike Joy for being in his feelings, but they're being in their feelings because Mike Joy clapped back at them. So that was kind of funny, like ironic, ain't it? See here, who's the Earnhardt and Gordon in this Hamlin-Chastain rivalry? I say Chastain is the intimidator and Denny is the wonder boy. I don't know. Ross Chastain is definitely set up mentally like Dale Earnhardt Sr. was. I'm not going to say he's got the exact same ability, but he definitely drives the same way. Denny, I don't know, though. I don't know if I would compare Denny Hamlin to Jeff Gordon, though, because I feel like Jeff Gordon just put his head down and got him back by winning. I haven't seen Hamlin get Chastain back just by winning, so I don't know. Hamlin, a little bit of a different situation, but yeah, I guess I don't know. Let's see here. Drew said tonight on Race Hub that the locking pins did not engage, so the lug nut did not get all the way tight. It just took 19 to 20 laps to lose it or loosen up and for it to come off. Oh, so there you go. So it was some type of malfunction there. So hopefully they don't lose a crew chief and two crew members over that, because it seems like that was sort of a parts malfunction. So hopefully he doesn't, if it is a parts malfunction, hopefully he doesn't lose, get the loose wheel penalty. Denny reminds us that as a kid, you get punished for lying. As an adult, you get punished for telling the truth, says Sky Talent. Absolutely right, Sky Talent. That is 100% accurate right there. OJ and Toothpaste 2 says, yeah, the hammer is coming down on Hendrick for sure. Jeff Gordon looked nervous at that press conference. Yeah, I think they're about to get smacked. And look, to me, it's the same, because NASCAR said they've got zero tolerance. That's why I'm saying it's the same penalty. It's the same penalty because you got caught modifying a part, and NASCAR said they got zero tolerance, whether it's before, during, or after the race. I do vaguely remember them saying that at some point before last season started. A piece of tape under the vinyl wrap, says Aaron Flynn. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if NASCAR is going to penalize for that, there's probably going to be very little wiggle room for Hendrick to get out of this deal. Now, they might get a smaller fine just because it was caught pre-race, but NASCAR is saying it's zero tolerance. I think that's probably just going to get the same smack that RFK got. I think Hamlin will get just a fine, says OJ and Toothpaste. A lot of people are thinking he's just going to get a fine. I'm just leaning toward NASCAR saying they're going to be more consistent. And if they're being more consistent, you would think he would get the same exact penalty that William Byron got. But who knows? Who knows? NASCAR is going to NASCAR, right? So if I could predict what NASCAR is going to do, I'd be rich, right? Because I could pick all the winners, because I'd know when all the competition cautions are coming out, or the sports entertainment cautions, or whatever. Bumblebee says one thing that might save Hendrick is that Colleague Racing had the exact same parts taken. Yeah, so that's a fair point. And that's why I'm saying it might not be a Hendrick deal. It might be a Chevrolet deal. So you might have some wiggle room there, but you never know. OJ and Tupe says Ty Dillon needs to step it up, though. Thought he would have won a race this year by now. Dang. I mean, in Earth 2, technically he's won 2 races because he has finished dead last twice. So on Earth 2, Ty Dillon's a 2-time winner. So let's I have to correct our stats, though, unless there's an Earth 3 where he's where it's sort of an inverted field. 15th is first place. So now we have Earth 3. On Earth 3, Ty Dillon has got to step his game up, no doubt about it. And definitely on Earth 1. Earth 1, he's got to stop finishing in the 30s. Smokey Unick has an IndyCar sitting in Indianapolis Airport right now. That would I really need to see that. I don't know. Can you go? I don't know. Can you go in the airport just to look at something, or do you have to have a ticket? I can't remember. It's been a golly. I think it's 2015 or 2012 was the last time I got on a commercial airliner. I'll always defend Mike Joy. He's like NASCAR's grandfather, and he deserves all the respect in the world. Great human being. Yeah, I agree. I like Mike Joy. I think he brings a lot to the table. A lot of people complained about him not being as excited as he should be, and he took that to heart. And he, as soon as there was a caution this race, you heard him get up out of his seat and scream, "We got a caution!" You know, like he's taking the criticism and he's trying to respond to it in a proper manner. Like he's not getting mad; he's trying to get better. But he also will clap back too. So I kind of like that. I like the edgy Mike Joy, and if you listen to some of the old satellite broadcasts, you can hear Mike Joy because they would talk during the commercials, and you can hear him talk during the commercials. He would clap back all the time at the people in the booth with him. I remember he completely roasted Buddy Baker one time. I can't remember what Buddy Baker said, but Mike Joy said, like, "No shit, Sherlock," and it was just hilarious because you were, as a kid, you were not used to hearing like the guy on TV cussing or something like that. So Mike Joy, he's always been a little bit feisty behind the scenes. Denny Hamlin's grandfather is Jimmy Spencer, doing a great job of Lunenberger. Thank you. Appreciate it, William Wagaman. Yeah, Jimmy Spencer, he was another one that didn't take no crap and would remember things forever and ever and ever. So there is a similarity to that, no doubt. Michael Honeychuck, what's up, man? Good to see you on here, dude. Josh Strickland says, "Dang, got to go back to work. Have a good one." Denny sucks. Josh Strickland, thanks for hanging out with us. I hate that you got to go back to work, but make that money, dude. And he definitely not a Denny Hamlin fan. So there you go. T-Van says, "I want to see the watermelon scheme on Chastain at least once this year." I do hope that's always a cool scheme. I hope they bring that back. And hopefully whatever races he runs in the truck series, they put the watermelons in the truck bed, because I always like that too. Sky Talent, Ty Dillon is your point leader. Yeah, him and BJ McLeod, they're having quite a battle on Earth 2. BJ McLeod and Ty Dillon, they're going right now as it stands, because Earth 2, that it is full season points. They're having quite the battle. Nobody's even close to them. OJ and Toothpaste, I like messing with you, BB, about Ty Dillon. You know what? I'm gonna start, if I can remember, because I'll probably forget. Because I got a terrible memory because I'm old. But I'm gonna start wearing Ty Dillon shirts on here just for you, because I think I've got 4 or 5 of them now, all the way back to the Truck Series days. So I'm gonna start rocking Ty Dillon shirts on here just for you, OJ. Ty Dillon needs to go back to racing Hot Wheels on a plastic track. Hey, we were all undefeated when we were racing Hot Wheels, man. OJ and Toothpaste, Brad Keselowski didn't get the finish he should have deserved. Yeah, for the second weekend in a row, too. Like, Brad Keselowski and RFK have had tons of speed, and they just can't get the finishes. These cautions, as much as Kyle Larson hates cautions, Brad Keselowski has got to hate cautions, too. He really ran good all day till the end of the race. Yeah. If he can get something to fall his way, RFK and Brad Keselowski, that 6 car and the 17 car, I think they're going to win a race this year, a race apiece, if they can get something to bounce their way, because they have definitely had speed. I think for the most part, they've actually, I would say at least 2 out of 4 races, they've had better speed than Penske. So that's been interesting. And Stewart-Haas has been hit or miss. Penske and Stewart-Haas have been hit or miss. RFK, to me, has been the most consistent Ford team so far. Ty Dillon will win when the Earth's proven to be flat, says Shah. So maybe Earth 2 is flat, because he's leading the points over there, just barely above BJ McLeod, though. BJ McLeod's still in the mix. Mark Barnum agrees with OJ. Timber Ace about the Roush deal. Timber Ace, even though he's had a lot of historical success at Phoenix, Harvick's late race speed was surprising. Yeah, like, he had that race in control until the caution. Like, he needed a long run. That's just all there is to it. If it had gone long run, Kevin Harvick would have been untouched. Unfortunately, he didn't have the short run speed. He didn't have both. He just had the long run. Mike Joy quoting Blazing Saddles on Dover was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life, says Bumblebee. Sonny V, Denny being a team owner, probably held to a higher standard. Well, yeah, that's a fair point, too. But NASCAR said they're going to be consistent with their penalties, so I don't know if they can do that. But NASCAR, you could never predict what they're going to do. Phoenix Raceway is a meh track. Even Jamie McMurray on DBC last year said the last good race there was 1989. I love the Phoenix racetrack from a fan perspective, but it doesn't necessarily always put on the greatest race. I will admit to that. And I think if they reconfigured where the start-finish line is, I think the finishes could possibly be a little bit more exciting. Phoenix should only have 1 date, says Napa Racing Fan. I think every track, with the exception of like Daytona, maybe Darlington, some of the very historical tracks, I think if you took all the tracks down to 1 date, then you could expand the sport to various different regions and markets. I think that would be the best move going forward. That way we wouldn't have to lose tracks. Every track would just have 1 date. And if a track only has 1 date, you would imagine that, they would have a good chance of selling that out. Napa, obviously, he's forgotten a few then. I can't remember what we were talking about on that one. Ty Dillon has T-shirts. LOL says Ghetto Streamlabs. He's had T-shirts for most of his run. He did not have many T-shirts when he ran the Geico 13, but other than that, when he's been sort of aligned with RCR, he had plenty. Is that Dr. Pepper cream soda you're drinking? Nope, it's Zero. I'm drinking the Zero, the loser 0 calorie Dr. Pepper. But it tastes pretty close to regular Dr. Pepper, so I don't mind it that much. I like Mike Joy comparing the Martinsville night race to the Eagles and Hell Freezes Over, the very famous Eagles Hell Freezes Over tour, because they said when they broke up, it'll be Hell will freeze over before they get back together. So there you go. Napa Racing Fan dropping that nugget there. That would be awesome to see you in some Ty Dillon swag for me. Then put a piece of tape on it and say he's the 2023 champion. I tell you what, man, I might can work something out as far as that goes. Let's see, Molten Rage. Ross fans been the most annoying people I've ever met. They're acting like their driver didn't deserve any punishment, even though he deserves a lot more than the one after last year. Just saying, as a Ross fan. Yeah, I mean, he got into Denny Hamlin quite a few times. So if you're looking at it from Denny Hamlin's perspective, you got to pay him back at something. But that being said, I don't know if I would have paid him back that race. I would have picked a better race to pay him back on. And if I pay him back, I'm daggum sure not going to say that I did it on purpose, because then you're just begging NASCAR to get involved and penalize you. So it was Ross stepped on his junk twice there. So I mean, not Ross, but Denny stepped on his junk twice on that one. So I don't know. And definitely, if you're going to wreck somebody, try not to wreck yourself too. Even Denny Hamlin joked on himself for that. But it is what it is. Like Ross definitely had one coming from Denny's perspective. So I mean, and Ross knew he had one coming. So I mean, it is what it is. I don't think anything that Ross did was necessarily on purpose. But if you get into a guy enough times, what's the old famous Clint Eastwood saying? Deserve has nothing to do with it. You're going to get it if you get into a guy, whether you meant to or not. Let's see. Okay, I'm lost. What is Earth 2, says Stephen Emilio. Earth 2 would be not this Earth. It is a fictional Earth, or just another realm, a second realm where time overlaps, where it's the same type of Earth, but different events happen. It's a different timeline. Some people will refer to it as a different timeline. T-Van says, what's the hat you're wearing right now? Earth 2 sounds like a good idea for a t-shirt. So there you go. That's Larson's throwback hat from last year. Let's see here. What are the odds there will be a race that has 20 laps at the end with no? Oh God, good luck, Mark Barnum. I don't know. So far, so bad as far as that goes. Let's see. Missed one there. I have an unpopular opinion. Electric Cup car would have more horsepower than the current Cup car, and probably even more tire wear, says Dakota Henderson. They definitely would, but they're going to get a lot of pushback. But NASCAR has talked about they're going to get a hybrid going pretty soon, as soon as next year. A whole separate series. This won't be in the Cup Series, but they have talked about doing that experimental hybrid series next year, as soon as next year. Phoenix will be good if you stopped allowing the dog leg to be cut by driving on the apron. Yeah, so maybe put a yellow line roll in. That would help. Phoenix is garbage. I hate it's the final race of the season, says OJ and Toothpaste. It's an awesome track to visit, though, man. I don't know. I don't know. Probably if I hadn't gone there, I might be on the same page with you guys. But that is such a fun track to go to. One day, hopefully, before I move on to the next realm, before I move on to Earth 2 myself, I will finish the Phoenix vlog, and y'all guys can see that. Noah said last year he'd run 70% at Atlanta because he didn't want to get hurt. What do you think of the mindset is for drivers this year? Is the car safer and rule for 100%? Hopefully the car is safer. We haven't seen anybody get hurt yet, so that's all I can go off of. And what he was referring to there is he had a championship to win in the Xfinity Series, so he didn't want to get hurt in the Cup Series. So I'm pretty sure he's going 100% now. But yeah, we haven't seen anybody get hurt, so hopefully they have fixed the issues they had with the car. I got to say, so far so good until somebody does get injured, at least concussed. Like you can always, hurt a foot or something like that. Allegedly, some drivers are playing through injuries as we speak. OJ and Toothpaste says, stupid playoff system, one race to decide it all is so dumb. The Final Four should be the last three races, and whoever has the most points wins the championship. If they keep this crap playoff that NASCAR has. Yeah, so if they keep it the way it is, they should get rid of the one race for a championship. They need to have at least 3 or 4 races to decide the final deal. So that's I agree with that. But personally, I like season-long points. But even if you have a playoff, at least have more than one race for the championship. Just my 2 cents on it. I think there's better ways to do a playoff. I'm not saying you necessarily need to scrap the playoff, because I know there are playoff people that have grown up with the playoffs pretty much at this point their whole life. So nothing wrong with that if you're a playoff purist as well. I'm just a season-long points purist. Shaw says, I think it was a good thing to do being early in the season. Cars can be made up, and now perhaps they even have a truce. Okay, so that's a good point. Better to do it when things are not on the line. Yeah, so if his goal was to get a truce, if you're looking at it from that angle and that perspective, then yeah, it is a better idea to go ahead and get it over with and do it early on in the season. So from that perspective, if you're looking at it that way, I would agree with that 100%. I never really thought about it that way, and he might have said that it was a long podcast. So he might have said that. I just missed it. But if that was his goal, then that does make a lot more sense if you come at it from that angle. But you definitely don't admit that it was on purpose. Like, that's just begging NASCAR to penalize you. Napa Racing fan, agree, but NASCAR made the format so they could have a Super Bowl event in the final race of the season. 100%. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it, but I can dream. I can dream the impossible dream, right? Man of La Mancha. Who knows what I'm talking about there? Molten Rage, Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, and Martinsville are the only tracks that should have a date or 2 dates, since they're the most iconic and have a lot of history. Just saying, yeah, I'm sort of with you on that one. I would say Bristol too, if they can get both Bristol races are both on concrete and both at nighttime. I wish we'd bring back the Winston Million or something similar. I think that was the richest Daytona, the fastest Dega, the longest Coke, and the oldest Darlington. Yeah, it would be cool to do something like that. And then they had the No Bull, where they did something similar to the Winston Million. My thought process has always been, you have a Winston Million instead of the playoffs. You have like a Winston Million type deal for whoever wins the playoffs, and you still have a regular season championship. And to me, that would sort of be like in baseball, where you win the Triple Crown for, best batting average, most home runs, and most, RBIs or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on baseball, but it would be a Triple Crown in racing too, right? You would win the regular season, you would win the overall title, the full season points. Then the playoffs would be basically for money, and you could throw something else in there. Whoever has the most wins. Yeah, you have the most wins. You win the full season points, and you win the playoffs big money thing. There you go. That would be your NASCAR Triple Crown. Maybe NASCAR needs to get on that. Kansas is just as good a track to go to as Phoenix, says Mark Barnum. Yeah, a lot of people have told me that. I need to visit Kansas because I'd love to get that experience as well. Let's see. Have you put a sound system on those NASCARs if they go all electric? Kenny Wallace said, because they will run people over in the garage because you can't hear. You can hear them. It sounds like a supercharger without the exhaust. That's actually what they sound like. So it's like I don't know. It sounds like a supercharger, just with no engine attached to it. I'm not excited for the Atlanta Super Speedway. I prefer the old Atlanta, but I'll still watch. Event-wise, I'm more excited for the 12 Hours of Sebring this weekend. So, yeah, a lot of people were going to the 12 Hours of Sebring, and they turned right around because they saw the Florida weather, and they said, nope, we're not going to get rained on all week. So that was some Florida weather coming into play there. I'm old enough to remember when Darrell Waltrip left and went to Earth 2. Says Dakota Henderson. That's pretty funny. I got you, brother. Ghetto Streamlab says, Molden, I have gone to almost every race at Dega since 1985, almost always sold out. Yeah, so Talladega definitely one that deserves 2 events. Daytona's definitely one that deserves 2 events, 100%, no doubt about that. Let's see here. Sonny V, tilting windmills. Let's see. Bumblebee talking to Duke Chronics says she sure it is. I missed one of these comments around here somewhere. And Darlington and Bristol, those 2 deserve as well, but I don't know why I forgot those 2. Both fantastic tracks. Yeah, Darlington and Bristol. Yeah, basically, your OG tracks, you got to get them in there. Duke Chronics said it's okay. Bumblebee. Aaron Flynn said, how did the race in Kinley go? Well, the car, he brought the car home clean. And he missed a whole bunch of wrecks. He didn't tear up the car. It wasn't the day that we wanted, but at the same time, he got a lot of experience on a pretty tough track, and he brought it home in one piece. So that's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. You didn't have to rebuild the car, and he got good experience, and on to the next one, as they say. But it was a fun time. Really cool deal to be down there. Like I said, the first time I've actually been recognized in the short track deal when I'm working at the short track. By the people competing. So that was, I don't know, it was a weird situation. It was fun though. You always have fun when you're working on race cars, and it was a good time for sure. But Justin, he missed all the wrecks. I'll give him that. Like he did a heck of a job driving that thing. Replace a Richmond date for Iowa. Sure, they're very similar, but not the same. Yeah, I mean, take one away from Richmond for sure. Richmond definitely only needs 1 date. And Iowa definitely needs to get on the track. Ty Gibbs has struggled in the Cup since Michigan last race last year. Says OJ and toothpaste. Yeah, I mean it's a totally different car. Noah has struggled as well. Like I said, I expect both of these rookies about halfway through the season to show something. Iowa always puts on a great Xfinity Series race. I'd be happy with it coming back, says Bumblebee. I think a lot of people would. It is a great racetrack. It's right up there with the St. Louis track as well. Infineon or Gateway or whatever they call it. I think they should make the front stretch turns 1 and 2 concrete and the back stretch 3 and 4 when they redo Fontana to Angus 420. I think that's a pretty good idea. They sound like RC Toys, says Shaw. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. They definitely sound like RC toys. They sound like mobility scooters, says Angus 420. So both are good. Both are good analogies. I say they sound more like RC cars than mobility scooters. Mobility scooters are way quieter than RC cars, in my opinion. Let's see. Moulton says Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, Martinsville, Darlington, and Bristol should be the only tracks with 2 dates. So he has amended it, and I would agree with that. That way you can get races at other places and more fans that enjoy the sport get a race in their hometown or at least closer to their home area that they can travel to and might not have to, buy a plane ticket or a bus ticket or a train ticket, however they're going to get there. Yeah, Old Atlanta was one of my favorite races of the year. They ruined it. Yep. That daggum progressive banking, and now it's basically a super speedway. So we'll see how that plays out when it starts to age and get rough. Dega needs an F in night race. Both Dega races should be, if you can run a night race, always run a night race. That's always been my opinion about it. So it is what it is. Otherwise, start the races at noon. So you miss the rain. Me too, EV. I'm 100 miles away from Iowa Speedway, says Mark Barnum. So there you go. If Cup ever gets the Iowa race, I'm definitely going to do my best to get up there and watch that one. Will not make it. I think I talked to some people on here. They wanted me to come to Atlanta. I'm not going to make Atlanta this weekend because we're racing at South Boston. I'll be helping Craig Moore and Jason Barnes at South Boston. So I will not make the Atlanta race. Even Quad Oval Atlanta was great for many years. Yeah, Atlanta put on great races back in the day. Basically, when it was the last race of the season, it always put on good races. It would basically, the middle section of that race would be a snoozer, but there was always a great finish just about every time. I think NASCAR should still have, and there was always some type of weather too in the first race at least. I think NASCAR should still have the Daytona Clash race before the 500. It gives fans a reminder what's coming, a little warm up. I think it made the 500 race better race. Says Duke Chronic, I agree with you 100%. Speed Weeks used to be the biggest deal in the world. Now it's Speed Week, and it just kind of feels like another race, even though it's a very important race. It doesn't have the same cachet. The Daytona 500 doesn't have the same cachet it used to because there's no Speed Weeks anymore. The Daytona 500 used to be this special, unique event, and now the Daytona 500, they've just basically made it another race, and it's whack. OJ and Toothpaste, Supercharger. Woo. I have a 2004 Ford F-150 with a Roush Supercharger on it with aftermarket headers. It is BA, says OJ. I know exactly which body style truck you're talking about. It is the parts truck from the Fast and the Furious, and those things are awesome. One of my favorite trucks of all time, no doubt about it. Let's see here. Matt Hunter, March and November are the most unpredictable months on the calendar year here in Florida. Yeah, that's an understatement for a place that has unpredictable weather for the most part anyway. At least as far as rain goes, definitely March and November can really wreak havoc in Florida. Florida man. Napa Racing says they could even name it the Rusty Wallace 300 at Iowa Speedway for the Cup Series. He is the architect of the track. That would be pretty cool. And I would like to see that honor or something like that. For once, I'd like to see somebody get honored while they're still alive with something like that. Imagine a Rain Cup Charlotte Roval race like the 2020 Xfinity race. That would be fun to watch. To be honest, would you agree? I do agree, Moulton. Would you love to see Roval chaos in the rain? I'll enjoy that. I enjoyed it wasn't the safest thing for him to do, but I enjoyed the chaos at Coda that one year when they couldn't see. That was my kind of racing. Like just go in there and wheel it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't safe, and NASCAR properly got smacked for that. But all the F1 purists that were whining and whinging about it, I've seen F1 do the same thing. So it's really hard to judge if it's raining too hard to race, if you can race in the rain. So I will give NASCAR a little leeway there. But it's always fun to see which drivers, when it's raining that hard, can make something happen. That's basically what put Ayrton Senna on the map. They talk about the rain race he was in, and it was just a thing of beauty. I miss Rusty Wallace, great driver, but retired at the perfect time, 2005, making the chase. And he won Martinsville at the end of the year. OJ and Toothpaste with that one. Yeah, Rusty Wallace was a gamer. Let's see here. Dega night race would be nice. It gets hot as heck for some races. Not much shade available. I would like both races at Talladega to be night races. It's just cooler, especially a super speedway under the lights. There's just something about it, man. It's just really cool. That's why I always went to the second Daytona race as opposed to the 500 back in the day, because it was just so much cooler under the lights, even though the Daytona 500 is the much bigger race. Are the Hendrick cars unstoppable this year, says Don McLeese? They were. It's going to depend on this penalty. They're definitely very fast, but this penalty might give them a serious impediment as far as points go and playoff points go. Give us a Cup Rain Roval race, please. Let the chaos begin, says Moulton. Mark Barnum, Dega night race. All the fans would be hammered. They're going to be hammered either way, Mark. There's no doubt about it. Dude, the 24 hours of Daytona, that is a 24-hour infield party too. So I don't know that Daytona is necessarily on the same level as Talladega, but the Daytona 24, there's no cares on the infield. They're living their lives down there. Peter O'Toole, described as the actor with the double phallic name in Man of La Mancha, fighting windmills. Do you know Don Quixote? Yep. Sonny V, I hear you, man. Look at you catching the reference. Golly, I can't believe somebody knew what movie I was talking about there. Let's see here. The Clash should be a showcase of the sport, and an all-start race should be held at historical tracks or a grassroots track. Dakota Henderson, yeah, I think the all-star race should definitely be at either historic tracks or grassroots tracks, sort of like what the SRX is doing, but we would only do it for the all-star race. That would be an awesome plan. They really should wrap their heads around it and do that. Wasn't that when Custer plowed into Truex, says Dr. Moretz? Was that who hit Truex? I thought Harvick hit Truex. Who hit Harvick? Somebody plowed into Harvick. Somebody definitely plowed into Truex. I think Custer. Was it Custer? I don't know. We got an expert on here that will know if that was Custer that did that, though. So let me know, Moulton. Was that Custer that hit Truex? I can't remember, dude. I thought it was Harvick, but I could be totally wrong. I knew it was an SHR car. Do you remember Austin Hill punched Myatt Snyder at Martinsville last year? I'd forgotten about that, but now that you bring it up, I do remember it for sure. Ghetto Streamlab says, Mark Barnum, yeah, we'd have to adjust our drinking schedule. Yeah, no doubt about it. I'd love to see a rain race at an oval, says a Napa racing fan. Yeah, that is the next step, right? Al says, honestly, it's kind of pointless to have a clash at Daytona in 2023. But they still need to have some type of speed weeks. You don't have to call it the clash, but they do need the exhibition race. Like, it just adds to the speed. They need to bring back speed weeks, I guess is what I'm getting at. You can have the clash wherever you want to have it. Cole Custer has struggled too. Riley Herbst is outrunning him. Riley Herbst is outrunning Cole Custer, so it makes me wonder. I know Cole Custer's good, so I'm not gonna sit here and say that Riley Herbst is the better driver. It makes me wonder what's wrong with that 00 team. Personally, I'm not gonna go that far down the old Cole Custer rabbit hole. I know he can drive an Xfinity car, and I know he's better than Riley Herbst, in my opinion, at least. I remember when Michael Waltrip punched Lake Speed. Yep, he was giving him the business. Old Lake Speed. There was about a 4-foot height advantage Michael Waltrip had on Lake Speed, too. Lake Speed's a little bitty joker. Molten Rage, I want an actual Rain Cup race at a road course like the Roval, the Glen, Indy Road Course, Coda. Again, please, I'd love to see the chaos and enjoyable racing. I do, too. Racing in the rain is a totally different skill set. Who will finish better, Kimmy, Jensen, Jimmy, or Connor? Yeah. I'm going with Kimi Räikkönen. I'm going with Kimi Räikkönen out of that one. I'm not even going to explain it. I'm just being a Kimi Räikkönen fan. Kimi Räikkönen was my favorite F1 driver of all time, or at least of the generation that I saw like a full season. Ayrton Senna was my favorite of all time, but Kimi Räikkönen was the favorite driver I actually got to see a whole career out of. Have you been to Bristol? Not for an actual race, but I've been to the track when they weren't having a race, which is kind of lame. But I have been to it. I just need to go there for a race. Whether or not I get that weekend off, usually I don't have that weekend off. So I don't know if I'm going to make it this year. OJ, must be why you do this. OJ, why must you do this to me? So that is confirmation. It was Cole Custer that ran into the back of Martin Truex. It was Custer who hit Martin Truex. Pain, says Moulton. So you're making Moulton live through his nightmares here. OJ. Napa Racing fan says, if we had a Talladega race, a night race, we'd have to get Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly as the Grand Marshals. I would like to see them be Grand Marshals. That would be good. Not my favorite movie, but the first half of it is decent. Sonny V, sure hope this is the last year for Dirt at Bristol. Yeah, it could be. It could be. There's a lot of people predicting this will be the last one, but we'll have to see what happens. Custer hit Martin Truex Jr., says Bumblebee. Aaron Flynn, when I was 13, 14, would pit a four-cylinder modified at Kenley when it was dirt. Those were fun times. No walls on the backstretch. Wedge cars ran then too, says Aaron Flynn. So, yeah, that's you talked about wedge cars. It reminded me. So this was my first opportunity working on a super late model or a pro late model, whatever you want to call it. It's different from a regular late model. And when I went to go put the jack stands underneath this thing, I didn't even mean to say it out loud, but I went, holy crap. I didn't say crap. I went, holy crap. And they, both the guys looked at me because they thought something was wrong. Like I was like, oh, I'm sorry. This is just way different than a late model. Sorry, guys. Because they thought I'd found something wrong with the car. Which was funny. Is Tate Fogelman and my new friend Chris. They snapped their heads around pretty quick there. The car that Justin Whitaker was running is a car that Tate Fogelman and his dad owned. So Tate was down there. Tate was racing his own car, the number 8 car over there on the regular late model side. Al, in fact, would be better to have a dirt midget race on the dirt track at Daytona or bring back the battle at the beach. Oh, man. Racing on the beach is hard to beat, so I would have to vote racing on the beach. That would be rad. So I would go with racing on the beach, Al. They will never do it, but that's what I would like to see. That was my favorite part of that video game when it came out back in the day. It was the EA Sports, not the Dirt to Daytona, but the EA Sports one when you could race on the old Daytona beach. Had the old Kevin Harvick white and red 29. We were rolling, buddy, and then. John Andretti was the other car I usually used. Napa Racing Fan says biggest mistake NASCAR made for 2023 was replacing Road America with the Chicago Street Course. Those 90-degree corners look very sketchy. Yeah, they need to bring back Road America. I 100% agree with that. They've had a hurricane for the COTA race. That's pretty wild, Sonny V. Byron was lucky. If Harvick had taken 2 tires, he would have been in there. Fords were looking good, says Shaw. Yeah, the Fords had a lot. They didn't show a lot of speed in practice and qualifying, but the Fords in the race trim, they definitely had speed that race. Where the race before, everybody was like, "What's wrong with Ford?" Ford showed this. They hit the setup this last weekend, so nothing wrong with them at Phoenix. Napa Racing Fan says NASCAR should allow big teams to have 5 cars. One being part-time. Imagine, oh yeah, I agree. Like you could actually have some legitimate like qualifying viewership at that point, because even though we know the charter teams would be locked in, people would be loving to see their favorite drivers like Raikkonen, Button, Daly, Johnson, Taylor, and all those guys battling to get into the field. That would bring eyeballs to the TV for sure. It would sort of be like Indianapolis qualifying day for the Indianapolis 500 when they do that deal. Eldora should have been a dirt race. Trucks had great races there. Yeah, I agree with that. I wish the dirt race was at Eldora, but everybody says it can't happen. But I don't believe them. I won't believe them until I see it not happen. See them have it there, and it didn't, and they don't pull it off. I guess I should say. I have arrived, baby. Let's make it 3 in a row. Big Hat Byron. Big Hat Byron is in the house. He's going for 3 in a row. I like it. He is single-handedly keeping whatever the name of that company is. I saw it the other day. It's actually a company that makes those, and they're selling them for $125. You can have your own Big Hat. So you can be Big Hat Byron at home for 125 spins. Molten Rage says Cole Custer almost could have passed away getting out of the car by Ricky Stenhouse. Ricky had quick reflexes and got out of the way of the 41 in front of him. I guess we're talking about that Roval race where it was raining or whatever. Or not the Roval race, but the COTA race where it was raining. Napa Racing Fan tried to do a race on actual dirt track and it failed. NASCAR tried to do a race on actual dirt track and it failed, says Owl. Katie Hettinger had a great race at the course. Yeah, she ran good. That car was rolling for sure. What car was she in? 80 something. She was running 80 something, I think, but that car was rolling. OJ and Toothpaste. I remember when Kimmy got wrecked in F1 and went chilled on a yacht during the race. I think that was at Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. Did anyone see the Daytona 200? I did not see the Daytona 200. Let's see. Baloneyburger, you seriously don't remember the backstretch short track that NASCAR used for Battle of the Beach in 2013? I don't remember it. The backstretch short track. I don't remember that one for some reason. Like, I don't know. I must have totally missed that one. I'll have to check it out though. Yeah, I missed that one for sure. Let's see here. Misspent youth. So 2013. I was probably still doing dumb crap. I probably caught the 500, but I probably didn't catch anything around it that year. What was your favorite Fast and the Furious movie? Oh, that's a good question. I like I like the original. The original is probably the best movie, cinema quality wise, and stuff like that. But even though people consider it the worst movie, I like the Fast and the Furious too because it was so campy and so cheesy, and it had the best quotes. 100%, 100% had the best quotes from that one, and it also introduced all of the really cool characters, in my opinion. So I did like part two and Tokyo Drift. You would have to flip a coin between those three. But definitely the first one is my favorite, and those other two, flip a coin as to which I would put at number two. And I liked all the spinoffs. Like, I know a lot of people hate those movies and they're cheesy and whatever, but at the end of the day, they're popcorn superhero movies, and I like all of them. So I have a good time. Hobbs and Shaw was a good one, and the most recent one where there's this some big huge train car or whatever that they blow up. I like that one too. The one with the Rock, was that Hobbs and Shaw? It was like the Rock, Jason Statham, and Idris Elba. That was I like that one a lot too. Let's see. Molten Rage. Wait, Tate Fogelman, the 2021 Talladega Fall winner. Yep, that's him, man. It was definitely him. T-Van, he's got him and his dad have their own race team for late models and stuff like that. It's called I think it's called Dirty Bull or Raging Bull. It's something because Durham is the Durham Bulls. It's something Bull City chassis or Bull City race cars or something like that. So check him out. That's him. You got to make it to Bristol. I've been to Indy, Michigan, Bristol. Bristol is a whole other ball game, says T-Van. Yep, I agree. I'm going to get out there one day. I'm just going to have to not go make money on late models that weekend, I reckon. Let's see here. I vote for a mile dirt track like DeQuan or Springfield or Indianapolis. Used to have a track. Yeah, a mile dirt track would be wild. Like I think they raced at the Springfield one. Was it Arca that raced at Springfield? Maybe I could be way off. One wise guy. Later, everybody. Catch you guys on Sunday. Thanks for hanging out, wise guy. Napa fan says grand admission tickets for both Sebring races Friday and Saturday. And Byron's big hat both cost $125. I'm not paying $125 for a big hat. So there you go. Get those tickets. Spend that money however you see fit. Owl says, Bologna Burger, just look up 2013 University of Northern Ohio Battle at the Beach. All right, so I'll check that one out. I'll look it up. Huh. I don't know how I missed that one. There's a glaring hole, something I should have known about that I've totally missed. Let's see here. Willow Spicewood, that last wreck involving Gregson and Allmendinger, and later Ty Gibbs. Did you see LaJoy getting Ty loose? Yeah, I saw Corey LaJoy driving a lot of people pretty hard that race. I feel like he was just trying to hang on to his car. So it doesn't surprise me that he sort of got into people. But it also could have been like a situation where Corey and Ty might have had some words or something like that. Didn't appreciate the way they drove. Unless like I get a full replay of everything that happened. I don't know. But I did see, it might have been Ty Gibbs that he got into, but I did remember seeing Corey LaJoy get into a couple people that race. And I feel like he was just chasing his car the entire race, but it could have been intentional too. So I don't know. Who's the third person in the Fox booth, man in the booth? I think it's going to be Tony Stewart this week. And Mark Barnum saying it's Tony Stewart. So I'm pretty confident it's Tony Stewart this week. Barron says, my fantasy is that NASCAR starts a new division on dirt with 50 styling and body design. That would be awesome. I would like to just see a 50 styling and body design, but definitely putting it on dirt would be rad. Those 55 Chevys on dirt, there's just something iconic about that. Sonny V said, Fast and the Furious, the more they make, the worse they get. Yeah, well, they've already gone into outer space with them now. So at some point, they're going to have to bring them back down to Earth. I don't know. I like them. They're popcorn movies for sure. They're not based in reality. They have their own physics, but I like watching them. Cletus T. Judd will be the third man in the Fox booth at Atlanta. I mean, to be fair, there's been, Smokey and the Bandit wasn't exactly realistic. So let's keep it 100 here. Ghetto Streamlab says, at times I wish someone would replace Clint's 5-hour energy with a sedative. That's a fair point. He's got a lot of energy. Molten says, I guess Tate found something to do since he hasn't found a truck ride since Pocono 2022. I'm sure he's still working on getting back there. No doubt about it. I didn't ask him about it because it just wasn't, wasn't the time and place and situation to be doing all that. But let's see. I watched the movie Dale last weekend on YouTube. Y'all need to watch it again. Yeah, 100%. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. Really good movie. Cassandra, hi from Coeur d'Alene. Hope everything is well. Good to have you on here, Cassandra. And what's up, Idaho? Let's see here. Or Iowa. I can't remember. OJ says the first F1 was my favorite too. The first Fast and the Furious one was my favorite too. Says OJ, yeah, that was definitely the best one. And the guy that directed it or wrote it, he said he was trying to make it like Donnie Brasco, so that automatically sort of made it one of my other favorites as well. Mark Barnum saying what's up to Cassandra. Bumblebee saying what's up to Cassandra. Big Hat Byron. I love that name, man. Big Hat Byron says, let's hope teammate Larson gets it done in Atlanta and his first super speedway type track. We'll be working together. I guess another 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4 finish. That would be helpful because I think we're going to get hit with some. I think they're going to get hit with some points penalties there, and I'm not looking forward to it. Larson definitely needs a win if we're going to get smacked with points, especially if we get smacked with points like the way RFK got smacked. Molten Rage, Corey has been overachieving in his equipment. I agree. He's getting the absolute maximum out of that Spire equipment, and I can't believe he's as high in the points as he is. He's doing a great job. OJ and Toothpaste, did you watch Talladega Nights in the movie theater when it came out? And do you like that movie? I waited for the DVD. I'm not a big fan of that movie. I'm not going to sit here and gaslight. I didn't like the movie. I feel like they leaned too heavily into NASCAR fans are dumb rednecks, and everybody with a Southern accent is an idiot. They leaned too far into that for me, for my taste. But that being said, I like a ton of Will Ferrell movies. That one, I just felt like they were making fun of NASCAR fans. They weren't laughing with them; they were laughing at them. So I didn't like it. So first half of the movie is okay, but then after that, it just really falls to crap. Yeah, that's how I felt about that one. But if you like it, I mean, it's all good. Anchorman is still one of my favorite movies. So I mean, it's nothing against Will Ferrell. Like that movie just wasn't my cup of tea. Different strokes for different folks. Like I said, I like the Fast and the Furious, and a lot of people don't like that one too. So it's all in what you like, what you got a taste for. How would you feel if NASCAR has a rotating street course race that goes different cities instead of just sticking to Chicago? I mean, I think that's the best bet for a street race. You got to rotate it because if you do a gimmick race like that and you leave it in the same spot, the gimmick gets old. So you got to rotate it around for the gimmick to stay fresh and new. NASCAR will be cheering for Corey LaJoy, Ty Dillon, Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell, or Cody Ware on Sunday. Let's see. Yeah. At least the last 20 laps, right? So let's see here. Get a Streamlabs. Last Fast and the Furious movie was a big hit on Earth 2. LOL. Yep. It was a big hit on Earth 1 too. They're big hits everywhere. It won Academy Awards on Earth 2 though. Several Oscars on Earth 2 for the last Fast and the Furious movie, or the most recent Fast and the Furious movie. However because I don't think there will ever be a last one. Barron says, how about wet track put down by NASCAR pre-race to simulate a slick track? That's where I was actually about to go with it. I'm glad you wrote slick track in there. A dirt track, a drifting track. Yeah. Since we're going for sort of like gimmicky tracks, just go ahead and put an old slick track out there. They used to have an old slick track. It's called Grand Prix in Myrtle Beach. They had a slick track there. And I was always too young to race it, but I always wanted to race it. And every year my family would go down there and we would race the absolute mess out of each other. And when I was younger, I weighed the least amount, so I had several family championships at the Myrtle Beach Grand Prix. So I was a Myrtle Beach Grand Prix champion for the clan when we went down there. Cassandra Keller, thank y'all. Miss you guys. We miss you too, Cassandra. Glad to have you on here. Driven is the worst racing movie I've ever seen, says Bumblebee. I would have to put it right up there. Here's the real question: have you seen Le Mans, the movie with Steve McQueen, and do you like it? That one is always polarizing. So we haven't done a poll in a while. So did you like? A lot of people aren't even going to know what I'm talking about. There you go. I've asked the question now. We have a poll. I am live streaming at a high level right now. Let's see here. Denny wants to say I wrecked him. Says Jeff Henson. So maybe that's why Denny wanted to come out and say that. He wanted to finally come out and say, hey, I wrecked Ross Chastain, so people would stop talking about it. T-Van, anyone else agree with me that the All-Star race needs to be the top 10 of every series? That would be cool. That would be cool. They need to do something to sort of spice it up, T-Van. I would agree with you. If Ross had gotten a concussion, what then? Yeah, that's a fair question. I'm just going to go 43 videos because I can't. Michigan Ken, 43 videos. Maybe. I'm just going to go Ken 43. So, yeah, like if he had been hurt, we're having a whole nother conversation, right? So, once again, I don't know what Denny Hamlin gained by saying he did it on purpose. Talladega Nights, worst movie ever. At least Fast and Furious Outer Space looks cool, says Sonny V. So there you go. I feel like as far as actual race fans go, Talladega Nights was sort of polarizing. It wasn't for me, but a lot of people love it. A lot of people, it's still their favorite movie. Denny keeps the mistakes coming, says Jeff Henson. Al, in fact, how would you feel if NASCAR does a race on Hutchinson Island Street Circuit in Savannah, Georgia, the site of the first U.S. Grand Prix? That'd be cool, man. I'm all for like historical stuff like that. I used to be a history major a long time ago before I drank my way out of college by going to the beach every day. But that was really awesome. 4-year college. I did get two associate degrees later on. Let's see here. Yeah, I love historical stuff like that. So that's right up my alley. Bumblebee said yes. I guess talking about the Steve McQueen movie there. What's your favorite Ross? Jeff Henson, fine and coming. OJ and Two-Face, what's your favorite Ross Chastain scheme in the one car? He had some fire schemes like the WWX one and the iFly one. He won at Coda. I like the everybody's going to say the throwback to the Dale Jr. Black #1 car. But my personal favorite was that GoPro with the chrome number, the GoPro that he had. I think it was at Martinsville. That was a really cool car. That was my favorite one so far that he's had. It was blue with like a chrome number, I think. His was all black, and Suarez was all white, but they both had the blue chrome on the number. Those were cool. Just put the Clash on the Daytona road course and have 10 trucks, 10 Xfinity, 10 Cup at night, a mini endurance race. That'd be cool. I'd be all for kind of like exhibition races like that, as long as it's not a points race. Let's see. And why stop at 10? Just put them all out there. Hell with it. No need to even qualify. My opinion, JRM should take over the 7 team for their first charter with Corey LaJoie and put Barry in the 7. That's a pretty popular opinion that I was talking about. A lot of people in Kenley had that same exact thought process. So you're not alone in that thought. The ARCA race was terrible this weekend. They're normally not great. This is why Denny doesn't win championships. He gets caught up in things that don't matter, says Bo Darville. I agree with you on that. Jeff Henson with the yes there. I think about the Steve McQueen movie. Let's see. I've noticed about 12 Cup drivers can drive top 5. About 5 can go nowhere. Says Willow Spicewood. Yeah, it seems like the further back in the track you get, the dirty air really holds people back. Trackhouse should start dumping Denny's cars. So that's been another popular opinion. Old home guy with that one. A lot of people think Trackhouse should retaliate. NASCAR had a 1.5 super speed dirt oval in the 50s. Memphis, Arkansas Speedway has a couple of YouTube videos on problematic and dangerous short history. I'll check that one out. I hadn't even heard about that one. I've heard the name, but I hadn't heard about it. Big Hat Byron, thoughts on Harrison Burton? Also, thanks, Burton, for the win. Harrison Burton probably moved up too early. I still think he's got enough talent to race at this level, but I think he might have been moved up too early. And he definitely helped you guys out. I appreciate the super hat, the super hat from Big Chat Byron. Let's see here. Nothing against Ty Dillon, but Spire should sell their second charter to JRM, give Dale Jr. a Cup team, and put Josh Berry in the seat. Yeah, I mean that's pretty fair. I think a lot of people really want to see that. D.L. Wilson suspended and concussed, broken ribs, and a broken sternum in the ARCA race last weekend. So y'all be thinking about him if you will. Yep, I forgot to mention that on the show. I meant to do that, and I forgot to mention that Jimmy Johnson is racing at COTA. So add him to the list of drivers racing at COTA. It's already been mentioned on this live stream by somebody in the comments. But yeah, I forgot both of those on the video just because when I watched that Denny Hamlin thing, I couldn't believe he asked Ross Chastain to come on his show after he said I intentionally wrecked him. I was like, what universe does Denny Hamlin live in some days? Like, yeah, I wrecked you on purpose. Why don't you come on my show and talk about it? I was like, what? I was like, I didn't get that. I was like, it was just like, I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it was the most insane thing I've ever heard. Denny Hamlin is the new Jaws. Old Waltrip says T-Van. That's pretty fair. He's doing a reverse Darrell Waltrip, where he was actually quiet at the beginning of his career. Now he's talking. Darrell Waltrip was loud at the beginning of his career and then got quieter until he got in the booth. Speaking of a disappointment right now, what has happened to Brandon Jones? Why isn't he up front? Why is he 18th in Xfinity points and JRM equipment? This is embarrassing to see. I mean, let the season play out. There's a lot of good drivers, like Tyler Reddick still back in the points in the Cup Series. Let the season play out. He'll be fine. Most drivers say it was an accident, says Jeff Henson. Yeah, that's basically what I would have said. ARCA races usually get worse toward the end. Yeah, they start wrecking each other for positions, in my opinion. They go video game mode. ARCA races, sorry, I just read that one. OJ and 2 Harrison Burton got rushed into the 21. He didn't really have set the series on fire when he was in the 20 in Xfinity. I agree. I think if he had spent a year or two more in Xfinity, he would have been more ready for the ride he was trying to get. But that being said, whenever you can go Cup racing, I guess you should always take that risk and take that chance if you believe in yourself. Big Hat Byron thanks AJ Allmendinger, Noah Gregson, and Ty Gibbs for wrecking each other too. They brought out the last caution to send it to overtime, says Napa Racing fan. Yep, no doubt about it. That's 2 weekends in a row AJ Allmendinger has been in a sort of a last caution wreck. Ghetto Streamlabs said, thoughts on the JRM's recent implosion among their drivers, wrecking each other? Yes, stupid. They got to get it under control. They got to stop doing dumb stuff like that. It's one thing to race a guy, but then when you start taking guys on your own team out, that's stupid. You got to stop it. Be aggressive, but use your sense too. Like don't be a moron. Don't be an aggressive moron. Use some common sense. It would be cool to see the Garage 56 Cup car do Pikes Peak. That would be cool. Maybe that could be the next thing that it does after it does the 24 hours over there in France. Let's see. Owl, in fact, the street course race could rotate between different cities like Minneapolis, Savannah, Cleveland, New York City, Oklahoma, Denver. Yeah, that would be great. I think Denny is smoking the devil's lettuce, the wacky tobacco, says Bumblebee there. So they're, I don't know. NASCAR does test them, so I don't know. I don't know about that. Let's see. I can't say too much as a RCR Kyle Busch fan, so I'll get lit up if I go down that path. Byron's least favorite driver at Hendrick. That doesn't mean he isn't a favorite, though. Elliott, Larson, Bowman, and Byron. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like all those guys are fairly likable. Like I can see where some people might not like Kyle Larson, and some people might do they might go anti Chase Elliott's because it's one of those deals where if everybody likes you, some people are going to not like you just because everybody likes you. So I could see that with Chase Elliott, but and obviously we understand why some people would not like Kyle Larson. That being that, going to move right along. To be fair, I don't think Denny invited Ross. I think it was the other guy that kept saying they need to have Ross on the show. It could be, but it was still like, I was like, what is he doing? I was like, that was the most insane thing ever. To me. Disappointment. Denny says, Jeff Henson. Did you like the Cars movie? Ka-chow 95. Yeah, all the Cars movies have been pretty good. Anything with Paul Newman in it is a good movie, in my opinion. OJ, I love anything Cars, says Bumblebee. Yeah, Cars is undefeated. That's probably the best motorsports cartoon of all time. Frankie Munoz is doing better than I thought he would. I mean, he's a race car driver, so not a lot of people knew that he spent a whole year racing late models. So he does have more experience than people think he does. But good point, Escobar. He's holding his own. Keen Corpusalo says Denny is worried more about his podcast than winning the championship. You can't win with 1 foot out the door. That's a fair statement, and I've got that same. I had that same reaction that he's putting all this because that's why he said that on the podcast. He wanted views. So if he's so concerned about the podcast, he maybe needs to not focus on that as much and kind of focus more on the racing and sort of the podcast needs to be a side hustle. It doesn't need to be getting as much focus, I think, in my opinion, that he's giving it right now. Hendrick cars race without wrecking each other. Jeff Henson, yeah, that's a fair point. The junior motorsports cars need to do the same thing. Frankie is doing good, wrecking people too, says Mark Barnum. So there is part of that in there too. There's going to be learning curves, but to be fair, for the most part, everybody in ARCA starts off wrecking people. Jeff Henson, anti-Bubba. So yeah, the flip side of I guess the Kyle Larson argument there. Molten Rage, I'm sorry, but I'm not giving Brandon Jones any slack this season. He's in top tier. Molten, you're setting yourself up, man. In top tier equipment, he should not be in 18th in points. He sure shouldn't be back. I reckon his teammate, like the 7, he is a hack. Molten, you're setting yourself up for people to say, where is Cole Custer at? So I'm just telling you, dude. Old home guy, I'm anti-Denny. He's a dork. So there you go. Denny Hamlin is a dork. Probably the least mean thing he's been called this week. Apologies if this has been mentioned, but Bailey Curry has been getting fired and replaced by Garrett Smithley in the 4 for Johnny Davis. Well, that is interesting. I hadn't heard that. So Bailey Curry is out and Garrett Smithley is in. That's interesting. Jeff Henson says, yes, sir. Do you think RCR will start selling Kyle sheet metal like JGR did? I hope they do. They do sell it. I can go and tell you that, Ghetto Streamlabs. They do sell it. You go to the RCR store and you can go to the sheet metal side of it. And they've got sheet metal. At last check, they still had some for Daniel Hemrick too. So you can get pretty much all the way back to Daniel Hemrick. I think they've still got some sheet metal from drivers that have driven there. Did you know that Paul Newman was racing sports cars when he was not doing movies? Yep. He actually said at one point he did movies. He did like one movie a year, 1 or 2 movies. He was talking to David Letterman. He said he did 1 or 2 movies a year just so he'd have enough money to go racing Nissans and IMSA and Trans Am. And yet his number would always be his age or something like that at one point. So pretty cool. And those Nissan teams, those are the reason those Nissan teams were good, because they had that Paul Newman money coming in and they could spend money on R&D. JDM made a mistake getting rid of Bailey Curry. Bailey Curry, says Molten. Napa Racing Fan says JRM went from 8-win Noah Gregson to Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones is solid, but he's not going to be 8-win Noah Gregson. That's a fair statement. Jeff Henson looks at the phone during interviews. Do you watch the Coca-Cola Racing I series? I haven't watched that one. I watched the one that I was watching the one that IDK Player puts on, and I just couldn't get into it because the post race they just got into some nonsense. But I like the racing part of it, but I couldn't handle the interviews afterwards. So that sort of switched me off to the iRacing deal. At least for this year. Maybe I'll give it another try next year. At least Cole Custer is an 18th in points and wrecking his teammate like an idiot. If anyone wants to bring him up to debate me, I'm just telling you somebody was going to eventually do it. So I was just warning you, Molten. Denny is a lot like me. When you do something and you're tired of the BS that comes with it when you do it and say you did it, it's over. Don't talk about it no more. Denny has the white hat now. He probably knew he was going to get a fine, but I don't think he remembered the William Byron fine for doing it last year. So if he gets a points fine, that's where I'm saying it's going to be sort of an issue. Otherwise, he's just paying advertising money for his podcast. Old home guy says, "Is it sheet metal anymore?" It's no, it's like it's a composite body now, and some of it is carbon fiber. So it just depends on which piece you get. Ross will pay him back big time, says Jeff Henson. Run out of the room smart, says Jeff Henson as well. Paul Newman is a legend on the big screen and on the track, 100% sure. Cool Hand Luke's probably one of my favorite Paul Newman movies. Denny's podcasts are straight garbage. He's had beef with Brad K, Ross, Logano, Willie B, and Chase, and I'm sure I'm missing someone. Says OJ and Toothpaste. That's a fair point. He's got a hit list. Denny Hamlin needs to be sponsored by Denny's. Gregson has done great with Wendy's. Imagine Denny for Denny's. It lines up. It makes sense. Legacy Motor Club is doing horrible this year. Yeah, they've been super disappointing. I've been bummed out so much about that. I really expected them to be good this year, and they have done the exact opposite. But there's always one team that does good the previous year, and then they have a bad year the next year. They look like they're going to be the one that does it this year. FYI, Kyle's Lucas car first RCR win is available on RCR right now. Says Ghetto Streamlabs. So yeah, if you want to get that car, pre-order it or whatever, go ahead, go to RCR store.com and go ahead and get it. I am knowledge. Watermelon car. So he wants to see that one. I think this is Denny and Ross's deal is being overblown. There's footage of them talking after the race, and neither one of them is mad at the other one. Says Bumblebee. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think that's why Denny was milking it for the podcast, because he even says it on the podcast, but then he goes on to just continue to talk about it and stuff like that. So it is what it is. He wants views and clicks. He wants the podcast to be popular, but he probably shouldn't take his eye off the ball of winning the championship. Admitting that you wrecked a guy could hurt you, points wise. Definitely going to hurt you financially. Denny is the spokesman for all the drivers. LOL, says Jeff Henson. He's taken that role for sure. Him and Kevin Harvick have taken that role recently. Ross, don't care about Hamlin. He races everyone hard, says Shaw. Yeah, I don't think Ross ever intentionally got into Denny Hamlin or was thinking like, oh, I'm going to get Denny Hamlin. I think it's just how Ross drives. He drives pretty much everybody like that. Dirty Modo isn't great either. Not bad, but it seems like the content for the show could be less than an hour, says Napa Racing Fan. You can always trim stuff, no doubt about it. Like that's what I'm most known for on this channel. I keep them as short as I can keep them when I do my regular videos. It's just everybody has a different style. Some people like to go longer. Some people like to fill in stuff. So you never know. Jeff Henson just saying, yeah, he is the mouthpiece for the garage, and so is Kevin Harvick. They have definitely stepped into those roles. I have Kyle's M&M's hood from the 2001 Daytona 500. It's 100% carbon fiber, says Streamlabs. So, yep, 100%. I knew the hood was. There's some other parts too, but I think the side is composite. Not necessarily all fiberglass, but it's definitely some type of composite. Denny, sponsored by Denny's Garbage Food, Garbage Driver, says Mark Barnum. So Mark Barnum, also not a Denny Hamlin fan. Noah Gregson isn't going to be a winning Noah anymore, says T-Van. It might take him a while to put it together. It took him a little while to put it together in Xfinity. He is that type of driver where it takes him usually more than one season to sort of figure it out. Denny drives for Denny's, says Jeff Henson. T-Van, I disagree. So Bumblebee thinks Noah's going to be good immediately, or she thinks he's a good driver. I'll put in the it's going to take him a little while to learn. T-Van saying he's not going to be a winner anymore. So let me correct myself there. Bo says the Bandit says Noah winning, Noah winning, Noah more. There we go. Had to get my dad joke mind right there, Bandit. Escobar said Thor Sports should move up from the truck series. A lot of people have been saying that for years. I don't know if they'll ever do it. It would be cool if they did though. What team will find that team will find more, lest we forget how the 43 was competitive last year. Yeah, hopefully they can find their rhythm pretty quick. It's just been a rough start for them. Have you seen the we're going to lose videos when he wrecks people on purpose on iRacing on the console NASCAR games? I've heard about him. I've never watched it, but it is a pretty funny concept, OJ. John Lewis, okay, Denny time. We're going to lose. It's hilarious, says Bumblebee. Denny's are closing, says Jeff Henson. I think Jimmy Johnson will turn Legacy around. Look for Noah next year, says Shah. Dakota Henderson says NASCAR should implement end of race time penalties, leaders that jump the start, and drivers that break track limits. Yeah, that would be fair. That's F1 does that. Throw the old time penalty on them. T-Van EB, he is going to have to get used to this new car. Yeah, I think so too. I think both rookies are going to have to get used to the new car. John Lewis, so if the 11 just let's go with the wheel. Dumb, can't complain about safety of the car. Boo. Yeah, that's a fair statement. You can't talk about safety now when you literally said you let go of the steering wheel. Molten Rage says, I hate that people act like the Brandon Jones is an underrated driver, but then the same people who say that crap on Riley Herbst, we know. I'm going to say Riley Herbst is better than Brandon Jones. There, I said it. Well, I think Riley Herbst and Brandon Jones are very similar drivers. I think Brandon Jones is slightly better because he has wins, but I think they're very similar drivers. They run very consistently. They get you top tens. Like that's just sort of how they're built. Shaw says, in my opinion, Jimmy bought into Noah, not into Petty. That's a fair statement. He might have seen something in Noah that he liked. Jeff Henson wished Denny this was Denny's last year. LOL. So another anti-Denny voice there. T-Van. He had experience in it last year. They both did, but I still think it's going to take them about half the year to sort of get it up under them, get their feet up under them on this new car here. Thor Sport will forever be a truck team, not as long of a schedule, and they don't have to be headquartered in nearby Charlotte. They aren't moving from Sandusky, Ohio, the home of Tommy Boy, I think. Let's see here. Streamlab says, my bank account is going to take a beating when all these Kyle Busch pre-orders start coming in. LOL. Yep, I think a lot of people's will. And Jeff Henson says, I love bologna. Yeah, bologna's one of the best things on earth. Several different forms of it. And it looks like, yes, 61% do like the Le Mans movie with Steve McQueen. Aaron Flynn, nobody said anything about his podcast with the games they play. I think that stuff is wild. I watch all y'all. Well, there you go. I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't know. Like a lot of the Denny Hamlin deal is he wants the podcast to stream. That's why he's always going to say something every week. This week, I just think he stepped into it because, well, he's probably going to get himself fined and possibly a points penalty for saying what he said. But he's always going to try to say something to get that podcast to trend at number one. So I just expect that to happen every week. Alan Jackson has a song, I Still Like Baloney. Says Napa Racing Fan. I think I've heard it, but I have to check it out. And Jeff Henson said, yeah, that's what he was referring to. So there you go. That's pretty cool. All right. That looks like that is the last question so far. So I'm going to call it on this one. I appreciate all y'all hanging out. It was fun. And I will catch you on the next one. Until next time. Peace.